I'm going to be reviewing week 27 of July. So there was only 3 days in this week because Thursday and Friday were half days for the futures markets uh, and closed for the normal markets. So there was no trading on Thursday and Friday. Although there was news on Thursday. After the news, markets closed. The futures markets closed around 1 o'clock, 12 or 1 o'clock. I don't remember exactly, but I didn't look at price at all those days, and so I'm not going to be reviewing those days. Anyways, throughout Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, obviously this isn't a typical week. It was a very, very, very bad week in terms of price action, in my opinion. I saw lots of times on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, especially Monday and Tuesday, I think, where the Nasdaq would either start trading lower and the Dow would rage higher, and the S&P 500 would be in between, or the Dow would be flat and the Nasdaq and kind of going lower, and the Nasdaq would be flying. Just things that aren't really correlated when usually in good market conditions those things should be correlated. They weren't. So I just want to point that out. It was not very good price action. I didn't really find many setups. But starting with the daily chart on Monday, we made a new all-time high, closed above it too. So we're almost at 23,000 now. It's going to be another milestone to reach. There might be some mental resistance there at that level, or we could keep pushing higher. But this is the 4-hour chart. Took out current day high, right? Feels like this is, current day high. I thought that was the 2 different days for a second. From support off of a 4-hour large fair value gap. So I'm using this as my point of interest. I can then drop down to a 15-minute chart. We're just going to go straight to 15-minute chart. As we enter here, I wait for a sweep. We don't have a sweep in the morning. Eventually we come down for a sweep, and my entry time frame, the 5-minute chart, I look for a fair value gap or an inverse fair value gap. I don't know, in the afternoon, right there, an inverse fair value gap here. I don't think I would have been able to find entry, but I didn't trade the afternoon, but I would have looked for an inverse fair value gap. I did stream in the morning, couldn't find anything, and I did say I wanted a slow sweep for me to get into a trade. That was a trade I was looking for. We just didn't end up coming to sweep it. So I don't know, if I would have traded the afternoon, maybe I would have been able to find this. But I don't think I would have been able to time the entry well. Continuing forward back to the hourly chart, there's another point of interest that I was using at around 3 a.m. So order flow is clearly higher. We've made new high, we've retraced, pulled back beneath midnight open, inside hourly bullish fair value gap. Nothing in how the candles are closing is indicating that we're going to go lower. Then from this is the 15-minute chart. Let's not go there yet. From that 5-minute chart at London session, again, I just wait for a short-term low. There isn't any short-term low that gets swept until around 4:15, 4:30, and then the 1-minute chart entry, inverse fair value gap. Not a bad entry right there. A very quick run to new high of the day. Back to the 15-minute chart. It seems like I was talking about the sweep there in the morning. There's nothing really. There is this 15-minute SIBI and inverse fair value gap, which could help me get into a trade. But there's no sweep running into this higher time frame PD, right? The inverse fair value gap or the fair value gap here, or any of the order blocks up there. So as the bodies close at around 8 or ahead of 9:30 open, there's nothing to really get me into that trade. Anyways, 9:30 open just kind of sent us lower. Once we were down lower, I was waiting for buys. I had the 4-hour PD array. I just needed a 15-minute short-term low. I'm trying to figure out what this one. Okay, yeah, that's the one trade. That's it for Monday. Tuesday now. Next daily candle after we've made a new all-time high. We pulled back a little bit. Key thing to note is the daily bullish fair value gap. So right now, we are closing beneath some of the bodies of the previous daily candles. But we're wicking into the PD arrays, the fair value gaps, and closing above them, significantly above them too. So as long as we keep seeing that, we can continue to see higher prices, and nothing can make us bearish. If we do pull back, there's more areas we can pull back to, like that fair value gap here on, I think it's the 24th of June. So there's that way I can watch going forward. Looking at the price action, I see a 4-hour order block form on the once the 6 a.m. candle closes. So the 10 o'clock candle comes back up, hits the order block, and seeks lower beneath the short-term low here, which is inside a fair value gap. So now going down to the 15-minute chart, I look for my 15-minute sweep. There's right there, and I go down to my entry time frame on the 5-minute. I need inverse fair value gap or fair value gap, and there just really isn't any of that here. There isn't really any inverse fair value gap. I wouldn't be able to find a trade here. But if we go back to the hourly chart, there's another PD array I can use. It's hourly order block right here, or I can use this. I can also just use that order block, to be honest, but there is a 5-minute sweep, so 5-minute sweep right there, or you could use this one. I did take a loss. This is the only trade I took this week. I took a loss taking this 1-minute fair value gap off this sweep, and this might not have been a great sweep. It did sweep it initially, pulled back, swept it again, and then this is where I got in on the news. I got in at the high up here. News delivered to my first partial, and it came back to stop me out at a partial loss. As you can see, the news came out and dropped it lower, and it went up, consolidated, one more run, and then I did see the second run. I wanted to keep trading, but I didn't have an entry. There was no return to an inverse fair value gap or the highest SIBI or anything like that. So I wasn't able to trade that second move, that move I was looking for on the first trade, but it's okay. It is what it is, and it happens. And then moving forward, this trade is in the afternoon. So in the afternoon, seems like there's this 15-minute SIBI to highlight. Order flow is clearly bearish. We're trading lower. We're beneath the 1330 opening price for the afternoon inside a 15-minute PD array. There's a fair value gap right here on the 15-minute chart, but it's too small for me to really consider. And if I do see the sweep I'm looking for, there's also an hourly fair value gap, so I can sum up. Honestly, no, this isn't too small. The reason why I'm not targeting this one, I'm okay with this one hitting, is because of the hourly fair value gap, which is back here. It kind of you can take these two gaps, and there's a higher time frame one that we filled, so that's what's most important. So from the hourly chart, I go to the 5-minute chart. I look for a sweep. So that's right here. There's initial temp lower, 5-minute sweep, bang, and then I go down to the 1-minute and I look for inverse fair value gap. So there's my first TP, second TP, and this is where I would hold it until it's like a terminus. I don't really see this trade necessarily wanting to go down any lower than that. Thank you very much, and I'll see everybody next week.